explosive. As Sarah Palin campaigns for one of the most powerful jobs in America, she is also under investigation for possible abuse of powers as governor of Alaska.
Yesterday, Governor Palin admits to possible pressure from her administration to fire former Department of Public Safety Director Walt Monaghan. But it's how the governor and her staff are explaining this latest development compared to what they've said just last month. CBS 11's Corey Allen Young joins us live with what appears to be several inconsistencies in the Palin administration's statements. Corey?
It was a good run.
From the very beginning of the investigation, former Public Safety Commissioner Walt Monaghan had said that he did feel pressure from Governor Palin to get rid of Trooper Michael Wooten, her ex-brother-in-law.
There was pressure for that, yes.
Pressure that just weeks ago, Palin, her administration, and her husband denied.
To tell you that truth is that no pressure was ever put on anybody to fire anybody.
Yesterday, the governor changed course, admitting now that one of her own made phone calls that could be perceived as pressure and were just plain wrong.
There's a gentleman by the name of Mike Wooten who's a trooper in the valley, and there's a family tie with the governor there, and so I think because of that, my understanding is, Walt has been very reluctant to take any action, but I mean, there's some very clear facts out there. Just so you got some insight on the other stuff too, it's going to be interesting, but the general feeling is, they just can't figure out why this guy is still working.
And says he was working with the governor's staff over the issue of Trooper Wooten.
I was contacted by Commissioner Annette Kreitzer and Chief of Staff Mike Tibbles, and then I heard that Frank Bailey had contacted one of the commanders.
But Palin said yesterday the subject of her ex-brother-in-law never came up with Monaghan.
We never had a conversation on whether Trooper Wooten should be a trooper or not. We never had a conversation on whether Trooper Wooten should be a trooper or not.
Lawmakers in Alaska are expected to release the results of an investigation into possible abuse of power by Governor Sarah Palin in the so-called Troopergate inquiry.
Hey, good morning, Julie. Well, when the Troopergate report is released later today, it will show that since Sarah Palin became governor, her husband Todd repeatedly and frequently had conversations with government officials, all aimed at having their former brother-in-law, state trooper, thrown off the force. In the affidavit, Todd Palin says, "I repeatedly expressed my frustration about Wooten." It all contradicts the impression Palin gave last summer of making a single complaint about Wooten.
We have some breaking news. Sarah Palin abused her power as the governor of Alaska. This is according to an investigation into the firing of her former public safety commissioner. I have the findings of that report. It was about 260 pages, the findings of this investigative report. And I can tell you that Stephen Branchflower, the investigator that was hired by the Alaska legislature to look into whether or not Sarah Palin abused her power in the firing of the state's top cop, Walt Monaghan, because he did not fire her ex-brother-in-law, Trooper Mike Wooten. We can tell you that that Branchflower, the prosecutor, found that she did abuse her power by violating an Alaska statute which says that any effort to benefit a personal or financial interest through official action is a violation of that trust.
George Washington Bridge, traffic moving pretty well this morning, but boy, it sure wasn't a few months back after those traffic jams engineered by aides to Christie to get back at one of his political opponents.